Hi everyone, Rich Crescenti here with another in our series of videos making music with Melodyne, and today is part 2 of our series, Editing Guitars. Now in part 1 of our series, we focused on getting the notes right, and that means going into note assignment mode and making sure that the notes are properly assigned and interpreted. That means going through and finding bad notes, notes that were flubbed a little bit, copying and pasting and replacing them. So we got all of our notes right. In today's lesson, what we're going to be talking about is getting the timing right. Now, there's a reason I want to talk about something else right here real quick, which is these tracks. This is an unmixed track, and these are clean DI guitars. And the reason that I've chosen these is because I think a lot of people out there, like myself, are either reamping or are using amp simulations. And Melodyne is a secret weapon to optimizing your raw, clean DI guitar tracks before they go to that amp or that amp sim. It gives you so much power and creativity and flexibility in shaping the sound before the amp. And if you're doing reamping and you've got multiple mics on an actual cabinet, then this is way better because you're only editing one track and not worrying about problems with multi-mics later on. You're cleaning it all up ahead of time, which gives you ultimately, I feel like, a better sound and is easier to keep track of. Okay, so before we dive in real quick, let's just listen to this audio and see what we're dealing with here. Here's the full band. Okay, and here's just the guitar. Okay, great. Just clean, open, whole note arpeggiated guitars. So if we're going to talk about timing, the first thing we really want to talk about is going to be the timing macro. It's a macro control, so it affects a group of notes or all the notes. If you have a group of notes selected, it will affect those. If you've got a group of notes, if you've got no notes selected, then it will affect every note. So if we look at this right here, we see we can take all of our notes and we can align them to any grid division right here. We've also got an auto selection, which is where Melodyne will make its best guess based on the audio. And then we've got track, which allows you to align two tracks together, right? One track to another. Great for multiple like rhythm guitars that you really want to tighten up the performance on. Here I want this closer to the grid line, so I'm going to choose eighth note. So I choose this eighth note and I ramp up the intensity. I want you to watch what happened. All these notes move, but you'll notice they all moved over to the right because the first note in the chord is what goes right to the grid right there, and all the other notes moved later. This is the default, and this is the way that it works, and it's good to know, but that's not always what you want. You don't always want the first note in an arpeggiated chord to be right on the grid. You might want a middle note or even the last note. So there are some easy ways to change this. I could Command A and select all of my notes, and then come over here and make sure that my grid is off. And by using my timing tool, you'll notice the timing tool in the middle of the note has one arrow on each side. That moves the whole note. I could just slide all of these over to where I want them. We also have a nudge feature in Melodyne. Just like a lot of DAWs have a nudge shortcut, so does Melodyne. Melodyne has a lot of shortcuts. If you don't know where they are, you can just go up to Settings and go to Preferences, and you'll see Miscellaneous. You drop this down and you see Shortcuts. I'm looking for nudge, so I'm just going to come right here and type in nudge, and there it is. There's all of my shortcuts for nudging the audio, left, right, up, and down. Even more so, you could go in and change the shortcut yourself if you wanted to, but I happen to like these right here. Okay, good. So I know nudging left to right is Command Shift left and Command Shift right. Good, I can close that. Now what I could do is take all of this chord and nudge it one way or the other. But what you could also do is if I wanted to change the way this chord was actually arpeggiated, right? If we listen to this chord, maybe I want that to roll out a little slower. So I want to show you something cool about note selection here in Melodyne, right? If I select a note, it just selects that one note. But if I come over here to my pitch grid and select this empty box on the note, it selects every single note. So if I wanted to change the way this chord was arpeggiated, maybe I would leave this A flat where it is, select all of the F notes using the Command key, add in all of the A flat, using the command key again, add in all of the D major. Now what I can do is move all of these top three notes a little bit later in time, right? I'll nudge those, and then using the command key, I can deselect F, and then I can move these over a little bit later, the top two notes. Using the command key, I'll deselect A flat, and then I can come to all of the D flats up here and move those a little bit later as well. And now when we listen, we get a much smoother and slower roll across that arpeggiated chord. Really nice and subtle, but if you need to change performance, you can do it. And that did not take me all that long for that right there. Okay, great. Now, the next thing we're going to be dealing with is the length of some of these notes right here, right? And I want to show you, for example, I want these notes to all be the same length. And every one of these F notes dies off a little bit earlier right here. So what I want to show you is how we can grab them. And Melodyne is smart about changing the length of notes. For example, I can select all of these, right? And using my timing tool, you'll notice when the timing is in the middle of the note, there's a single arrow on each side. That means move the whole note. But if you move this timing tool to the beginning or the end boundary, you get a little double arrow on each side. And that's telling you you're just gonna adjust the boundary. So now I can grab the end of this note and drag it over, just like so. Now you'll notice it worked on the second note and the third, but not on the first. And I did this on purpose because I wanted to show you this right here. It didn't because this note is connected to this little thread right here, right? These things are tied together. So we want to make sure that Melodyne often recognizes a little bit of line noise or something like that as information that is valuable, but I know it's not valuable. So I'm just going to go in and delete it, right? I'm just going to highlight this right here and just turn it off. Now, I recommend making sure that you're not cutting off valuable transient information right there. Let's give it a listen. Sounds okay to me. Now what I can do is select all of these notes, come to my note timing tool, make sure it's the double arrow, and just drag those out. And I want all of those to go to this note breakpoint right here. As a matter of fact, I really want to change the timing of a lot of these notes, right? So I'm just going to come to this one and shorten it up so it goes to there, shorten this one up so it goes to there. What I'm looking for is all of these notes to kind of die away, right? So if I get all of these at the same length, then this note will end before the next note starts. And this is clearly just nothing more than a technique that some people like and some people won't like. You may like the sound, you may not like. Let's give it a listen. All right, we made that note die away. If we wanted to, we could just then select all of these and connect them by dragging these out right there. Maybe I want these notes to be connected, so I'll make sure that they're at least connecting or overlapping, and now we get. So that now those chords are connected. It's a different performance, but we have control of it that way. Lastly, we can easily go in and just select all of the notes like so. If we really want to fine tune the way that they fade out, we can come over here to our fade tool and just fade them out like so. So we get really nice control over the way that dips down into the next note right there. Hope you've enjoyed this today. Thanks.